Are you offering value or are you asking for value from somebody? We live in an attention economy, right? Where you need to be noticed in order to get, in order to be successful.
TikTok, everyone gets triggered on TikTok. That's why it starts with the letter T. Like,
insane.
I mean, you know, engagement is engagement at the end of the day.
CV doesn't need to be 1 page. 5 pages is probably too long. But
Yeah.
there's no rule. When I see people saying like, oh, I can do Microsoft Excel and I can use PowerPoint. Like, everyone can use PowerPoint. It's 2026. Right?
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised.
And if you're applying to a role in 2007, there might have been 10 applicants. In 2026, there's 1,000 applicants per role on average.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Press Pause with Jaheena. On today's episode, I have somebody who you might have seen online as Recruitment Guy or Recruitment.guy. His name is Dan Chadwick. He's a career coach and a Dubai recruiter. And I personally felt like it was a great time to have him on the show just to understand what I could do with my career. And then in turn, you can learn what you can do with your career if you want to advance yourself. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I think it's important for us to get to know you a little bit more and then how you got into this career.
Sure. Where do I start? Well, I was recruiting in Manchester. I'm from close to Manchester in the UK, and I went to university at Manchester, did a quantity surveying degree in Manchester. Fell into recruitment, as a lot of people do, did some sales roles and all the rest of it, and was recruiting in Manchester, and I had a friend who lived in the UAE, in Dubai, around about 2003, 2004, I think. Came out and saw him a few times on holiday. Wasn't much going on in Dubai at that point compared to now. But as I came out more and more, needed a change from the UK, saw the potential of, career-wise and also lifestyle, the sun, of course, and had some friends here that I'd made over those years. Came out to Dubai, worked for a company called Hill McGlynn, which was an international recruitment business. They had a Dubai office. And fast forward 19 years, this was in 2007, now business partners with the person who brought me to Dubai and was managing that office. So we have a little recruitment business together. Working across, it's called Chase Talent. So
Chase Talent.
Chais Talent.
Oh, is that based on someone's name?
Sure. So I'm the Chadwick.
Okay.
And she's the Faris.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So, and she's not Arabic, by the way. She's Irish, but has a surname of Faris, which has opened a few doors.
Oh,
so,
that's great. Yeah. And then she'll walk into the room, they'll be like, what?
Yeah, exactly. So, and then in more recent times, in the last sort of few years, doing some social media stuff and throwing out stuff as a recruitment guy on TikTok and on Instagram, just sort of ranting about recruitment really and thinking about, okay, what can we give people in terms of information about recruitment in the region? Built up a bit of a following and then really wanted to give back to candidates in terms of, what can you be doing better in your approach to recruitment? And that's how the career coaching side of things started.
Okay, cool. And then when did you start posting on social media?
I think it was probably about 3 years ago, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, about 3 or 4 years ago.
And then what was that moment that you were like, you know what, I'm just going to start posting specifically about recruitment? Like, was there something that happened or did you just decide to talk to your camera?
Yeah, I'd had the thought for a little while and I've always been quite comfortable in front of the camera. I'm not a shy person when it comes to speaking, etc. So it was actually a friend of mine, another Dan actually, who had done some stuff himself. He'd started a little podcast and was playing around with different business interests and doing some podcasting. And he actually said to me, you really need to do this. Social media is something that you're not doing. So why don't you just start throwing some stuff out there? And I've always been a fan of just starting something instead of trying to get it perfect before we do it. I think a lot of people try and get perfect ideas before they start things. And I just started speaking and it was actually a couple of controversial posts I did because I didn't know what I was doing on TikTok at this time, right?
TikTok, I feel TikTok, everyone gets triggered on TikTok. That's why it starts with the letter T. Like
insane.
Yeah.
So I put something up on TikTok because I was recruiting in Saudi at the time. I do a lot of work in Saudi as well as the UAE. And I put something on TikTok about the fact that we needed a certain type of person for a certain type of role. And the Saudis piled into the comments saying, you're taking our jobs and we don't want Westerners here and all that sort of. So that actually, by complete mistake, that blew up my TikTok quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, engagement is engagement at the end of the day.
All news is good news, as they say, or something like that. So Yeah, it's kind of started like that. And then was sort of realizing what worked and just putting out loads of great information on TikTok and on Instagram. But TikTok was the one that kind of blew up, and Instagram really wasn't that big at that time. And then more recently, the Instagram's kind of caught up, and we've opened, a career coaching platform off the back of it. Started off just doing some one-to-one career coaching, and from there, I've opened something called the Middle East Career Accelerator, which is a job search strategy platform for people looking to land their next role.
And what do you specifically specialize in with recruitment? Is there a certain industry?
Yeah, so with our company Chase Talent, we're traditionally sort of construction consultancy developers. Julie, who I work with, does a lot of retail, senior level retail recruitment, and with the developers as well. So it's generally based around that sort of construction real estate core. But more recently, we've been branching out into sales, marketing, and a few other things as well.
Okay, all right. And I have a couple questions here for you specifically. So I found you on Instagram.
Yeah.
And personally, I feel like I'm stuck in my role and there isn't career progression, and I'm wildly ambitious. So I was like, okay, what can I do to get out of it? And then that's when you started to come up, like, what can you do to stand out with your CV and everything? And I literally put into ChatGPT what I do, and then it generated one for me. I'm like, condense it into one page. And then I just like crammed everything in there. So, I think first we can start with like what the job market is like. So you showed up in the UAE in 2003, and then
2007 was when I moved here. Yeah.
Okay, so 2003 was when you visited, and then 2007 you moved here. So what have you noticed in the job market changing, and do you notice any patterns that are repeating in different cycles?
Yeah, I mean, the job market's changed massively, right? I mean, when I first came here, nobody really knew about Dubai. And if they did, it wasn't as desirable as it is today in terms of lifestyle and a place to live. So therefore, and also we were building crazy then, right? We were building downtown, we were building the marina, we were building the Palm Jumeirah, we were building all these huge projects. So we couldn't get enough candidates here. If I had a candidate in the UK or Europe or from anywhere, I could literally get them 5 interviews within a day and they'd be on a plane the next week. I mean, people were fighting over candidates. So that's gone the other way. That's been turned on its head. And I think now what we're seeing is that there's so many candidates that want to move here, and it's the companies that can actually be more fussy about who they bring on. So that's just one way that it's changed. Patterns. Yes, I have seen some patterns. Obviously, we've recently had the conflict in the Middle East, and the same patterns are occurring as what we saw in the global financial crisis, and to an extent in COVID as well, whereby certain people who maybe haven't been here as long and haven't got roots, have got cold feet and are moving out of the country. Yeah. And then what will happen is as things sort themselves out, and they will sort themselves out, we will need to attract candidates again. So those patterns do tend to repeat themselves as we go through recessions and conflict and all these things.
Okay. And then what do you think people need to do in order to get noticed by a company, especially when everybody wants to come to the Dubai? Like at the moment, it's not necessarily the case, but eventually when the world opens up again properly, because this feels like COVID 2.0 for me.
Well, I will temper that by saying that people are still relocating. Like I'm seeing a lot of people relocating. We've just actually had a great success story from our Middle East Career Accelerator, where we've got a guy in the UK who's landed a role in Saudi and another guy who's landed a role in the UAE, both completely different backgrounds. Because although I specialize in construction type stuff with the recruitment side, the career coaching works for everybody. So we have everybody in there from all backgrounds. We've got about 70 people now. So people still are relocating, but in terms of how to get noticed, and that's exactly what we teach and why these people have been successful, it's not enough just to apply to a job anymore. We live in an age we live in an attention economy, right? Where you need to be noticed in order to get, in order to be successful. And because everything is so hyper accessible on the internet, music, jobs, dating, whatever it is, right? Where everything's on an app, everything's hyper accessible, that creates huge volume of jobs, of applicants. And so if you're applying to a role in 2007, there might have been 10 applicants. in 2026, there's 1,000 applicants per role on average on LinkedIn. So how do you get noticed? And so that's kind of what we go through and what we teach. And it's about following up. It's about posting on LinkedIn. It's about playing that social media game where not only it's not only about who you know, but it's about who knows you. And that's kind of the difference.
And what would be something not to do, like getting noticed in a bad way? So what would you recommend avoiding or being more cautious of?
Yeah, I think it's easy. I think when people are posting on LinkedIn, it's really easy to get lots of engagement by being negative and complaining about the job market.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because you're shouting into this echo chamber of negativity, and everyone piles on going, oh yeah, it's a nightmare, it's a nightmare. But nobody's going to look at that post and say, oh yeah, you're a great person for my company. Because you're being negative, right?
Yeah,
so I think, and what I've learned with my social media over the years is keep it positive, keep it light, keep it informative and relevant.
Yeah.
And when you're approaching people, keep it short, to the point, offer value, and don't be too sort of copy paste in your messaging as well.
Yeah, true. And what about like those ones that ChatGPT generated? Like you just
the worst.
know.
The worst. It's funny. I get so many messages on a daily basis. I get in excess of probably 100 messages a day across all platforms, and the vast majority of them are either copy paste or ChatGPT generated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take out those long dashes.
Take them out. Take them out.
Take off the emoji.
It doesn't matter how great you think it, or how much you think it sounds like you.
Yeah,
we can tell immediately it's ChatGPT, and there's nothing wrong with that. There actually is nothing wrong with it if it's relevant and if you're offering the right
insightful information. Yeah.
But if you haven't done your research and it is just copy and paste, it's not the one.
And then if people are looking to do a job search, whether they are first starting out in their, like they fresh high school graduate or university graduate.
Yep.
And then for later, somebody who is in a career similar to me and is like, I am stuck, literally what I feel like. So what would be your advice to people on both ends of the spectrum in terms of a job search and like what to do in that moment?
I think what would be a great way to use ChatGPT for someone like you would be to say to ChatGPT exactly what you've just said to me, and say, ask me some quite in-depth questions about what I enjoy about my role, what I don't enjoy about my role, what I'm good at, and then it may be able to suggest some career moves for you. Now, whether that's a realistic career move in the current climate where people or employers are always looking for relevant experience is another matter. But it's worth a shot, right? And I think then what you need to do is then form a hit list of companies within those chosen fields and start connecting and networking with people, because many jobs aren't advertised. So many jobs aren't even advertised. So it's not so much about a job search anymore. It's about a networking sort of strategy.
Okay. And then what can people do to network?
Well, I mean, there's obviously online networking, predominantly through LinkedIn. There's in-person networking, and there's just networking without even calling it networking. I'll use an example. A lot of my work last year was from people that I've met through my gym classes, right? Because you get to a certain age, and you get to a certain. We've all been here a long time, or a lot of my peers have been here a long time. They own businesses, or they're directors within businesses, and somewhere like the gym's a real leveler, right? It's like we're all sweating. But you sometimes avoid talking to people. Once you start talking to people and forming that rapport, those sort of rapports and those relationships that you form outside of the workplace often lead to great things in the workplace. And so I would recommend that people talk to people in the corridors of the school, or or in the gym or whatever.
I agree. I feel like people do need to be friendlier. Like, I'm the kind of person, I'm smiling at everyone. And then I remember in Dubai Air Show, I was there representing the company that I work for, and there was this woman I saw, and I was like, she is so stunning, like truly. And I just went up to her, I was like, I think you're just so beautiful, and that's it. And I just like walked off. She's like, wait a minute, I saw you on stage, because I was emceeing an event, and then she owns a space company, and this was like maybe 5 years ago. And then she's like, oh, air traffic in space, like that could be something that you could go into. And I was like, no, I don't think that's for me. And then now around 5 years later, I texted her. I was like, hey, I took your advice. I'm doing a degree in space operations. And she's like, awesome. Come to this closed door meeting. And then you can network with everybody from the space agency and things like that. So tell people they're pretty.
Amazing.
Be nice. Yeah. So it just reminded me of that.
In fact, you just reminded me of a great story that about how I opened my Middle East Career Accelerator, because I hadn't thought. It's on the School platform. There's a platform called School, SKOOL, and it's run by Hormozi has opened it. Everyone's seen Hormozi online. He's like a bit of a business guru and very successful guy. And what happened was a guy called Murad. If you're watching, Murad, shout out to you, because this has been a life-changing sort of meeting that we had. He booked in for a one-to-one coaching call with me. Now, Murad was in the UK, wanted to relocate to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
He turns up on this coaching call. He works in IT. He turns up on this coaching call and he was wearing a bright yellow Versace dressing gown. And I was like, dude, like, what are you doing? You can't be turning up to Zoom calls like this. Like, that's like point number one before we even get into this conversation. Yeah. You can't be turning up on camera in this dressing gown. So he was telling me a little bit about what he did. And as he loosened up, he told me about his school platform that he ran, his community on School. And I checked it out. And this guy at the time had 200 subscribers at $100 each. So I'm like, wow, that's like $20,000 a month. I'm like, why are you even talking to me? Like, you're doing okay already. He's like, no, because I want to explore like different things. And we stayed in touch, and I didn't realize that he'd relocated to Abu Dhabi, and all of a sudden he tagged me in a story on Instagram and said, shout out to Recruitment Guy, because I had a one-to-one with him, and that's the reason I'm in Abu Dhabi now, right?
Oh, nice.
So then I checked out his school again, and he's now got 500 subscribers at $100 each, right? So I'm like, wow, this guy's like balling. He's like $50,000 a month. So I said, oh, thanks for tagging me, man. He says, mate, you need to open a school. You need to open a school because you've got all of this information and all of this knowledge, and you don't have to do it all on one-to-ones. You can host it here and host it there. So that was actually the reason, one of the reasons, along with a couple of other marketing type people that I was talking to at the time. They said, you've got to open a school community. And it's been a game changer for so many people. I mean, you know, what a great community we've got now. It's really good.
Yeah. So tell us more about the Middle East Career Accelerator.
Yeah, sure. It's so it started off because I was doing this one-to-one coaching, and it was around the coaching is around job search strategy. So as we just talked about, how do you get noticed?
Yeah.
How do you land a role in this climate where competition is so fierce? But I was finding I was saying a lot of the same stuff to different people. So while the one-to-ones are bespoke, the theory behind it is obviously the same for most people. Okay. So I was saying all the same stuff. And so I thought what I can do is I can host it. And my initial idea was to just sell it as a course, but I didn't really want to be one of those guys that sells courses. But I thought with the Career Accelerator, I could make it more interactive. And the great thing about School is you can not only host your own videos and resources on there, but you can do coaching, you can do calls with the community through their own platform or through like Google Meet or whatever. You can form a calendar of calls. So I just sort of threw some resources on there, recorded some videos, and they're bite-sized chunks. We go through how to do your CV, how to optimize your LinkedIn, how to follow up your job applications, how to network, and then every member also gets one-to-one interview prep with me. So if you were a member and you landed a role, an interview with space.com or whatever it is, we'd get on a call and I'd prepare you for that interview. But in addition to that, we formed a really good community whereby we have a call every Monday and a Wednesday. So a Wednesday, I review everybody's CV. I tell them what they should and shouldn't do. And I'm very direct. I pull no punches.
Yeah, I feel like you're very direct. I've gathered that.
So we go through CVs and LinkedIn's. And then on a Monday, we call it Dan's Career Clinic. But really, it's just a community call where everyone's sharing their successes, their challenges, asking me questions. Everyone chips in with their thoughts and their
contributions. So it's like a group call?
Yeah, it's a group call. It's a group video call. And then the game changer has been our WhatsApp group. So we have 70 people in the WhatsApp group, all sharing their wins and challenges, and encouraging each other.
I love that. I love when a community is built or off something that one is passionate about.
Yeah.
So earlier, you answered my question on what I could do. So what could people that are fresh out of university or even fresh out of high school, and they're looking to get into going into work. Tiny backstory about me. So when I finished high school, I specifically didn't want to go to university because I didn't want to financially burden my mom to pay for that. So I felt like, no, I need to get into finding a job where I can provide in some way, literally any job. So what would you do for people that can't afford to go to university? So fresh out of high school and looking to get into the job market. And then let's say people who do have the capability and means to go to university, and then what they could do when they've gotten out of it.
Sure. Well, I think what I would say to both of those groups of people is be different to people of your age group in terms of showing real effort and intent. Because a lot of people that are young, and I certainly don't want to broad brush people, because I meet some absolutely I was out for a bite to eat last night with a 24-year-old who's set up her own business, and similar to that, she's been working since she was 13, didn't go to university, trained herself on the job, and she's now runs a very, very successful marketing and PR agency here. She's 24 years old. It's crazy. But most young people, from what I've seen, there's a lot of, okay, I want to work from home, or I want to be a manager, I've qualified in this, this, and this. Offer yourself up for an internship, go around offices and be different. Don't just email people. If I was 16 and I'd just come out of school, I would be knocking on doors, like literally knocking on doors in my chosen. So if I was like, okay, I feel like I'm good at sales, for example, I'm quite an outgoing person, I'd be going around car showrooms and saying, just give me an internship. I want to just shadow somebody I don't want money for it. Just give me like 1 month. I'll show you what I can do. And I think that is different from, just applying to a job and expecting it to be given to you on a plate. And I think that's the important thing here.
Could this be something that is done specifically in the UAE? You just like rock up to places and be like, sup?
Why the heck not? Why not?
And another question I had was, how important is UAE experience to land a job in the UAE?
It depends on the sector. It really depends on the company and their preferences. We have seen more and more over the last few years, since probably before COVID, when this place has become more popular, UAE experience being quite important. It's a preference for companies because their perception is that there's a lot of people here. And it is true to an extent that we are a much more mature recruitment market. So whereas, we're much like London, New York, Sydney, we have lots of people here. We have lots of talent here. We don't need to go outside of the country to find talent. If you're in London and you need a marketing person, you don't need to go out the country to find, you need to go out the city to find that person. And it's very much the same here now. But of course there are certain roles where we need to recruit from abroad. Teachers are always sort of high turnover. Some companies quite like bringing somebody in from abroad because they get that sort of enthusiasm, that drive that we all had when we first got to the UAE.
Yeah.
I think when you've been here a little while, maybe that complacency sets in, and that's an age thing as well. So it really depends on the business and what their preferences are. And,
with your recruitment agency, it sounds like you bring people in from abroad mostly. So what do people need to keep in mind considering the culture of the UAE and specifically in the region? Because you said you work with people in Saudi as well. So what do people need to keep in mind coming into a Muslim country where the culture is completely different? There were some posts that I've seen online. It's like, you can even expect to go to somebody's house and will like host you and feed, like even now the podcast, I'm like, come to my house, right? Where you are expected to come over and have a meal and everything. And then we'll talk business later. Whereas in the Western world, I feel like it's a little more direct and more corporate, and you're in an office and that's how it's done. So what do people need to keep in mind coming into the UAE and respecting the culture and also being successful in business in doing that as well?
Yeah, I think a little bit of research around culture is certainly important. And I think, as we've become more liberal in the UAE, that doesn't mean that you can just rock up and expect it to be like your home country.
Yeah.
I think Saudi is obviously a lot is different to the UAE, and it's probably more like the UAE when I first came here 20 or so years ago. So a little bit of research around culture, a little bit of research around if you meet a Muslim woman, for example, how you approach that, things like that are important. But in terms of business and the way business is done, it's all about relationships, right? So I think it's not just, okay, you can expect to be a door to open because you're working for a certain company, especially in Saudi. It is really about in-person relationships and putting in that time, as you just mentioned, and going for dinner, going for a shisha, doing all of those things with the locals.
Are there any changes that you've noticed in the region when it comes to applying for jobs and what kind of jobs are available?
So there's certainly a wider variety of things available for candidates, right? So when I first came here, it was all construction. It was like, we're building stuff. Now, obviously, we're really focused on tourism. There's a huge financial centre in DIFC and ADGM. So there's really something for everybody career-wise. I think people need to be aware of certain careers in their home country that maybe aren't going to be as well paid here, for example, for certain people, and vice versa. So there's certain careers which are highly in demand here. Such as, we've seen it with, teachers, with certain finance roles, certain construction type roles like cost management, project management, that type of thing that we deal in. So while there is a wider variety of roles, as we mentioned before, the competition for those roles is fierce. And it's, again, about being noticed in the right way.
Okay. And for people that own companies, what can they do better?
I could talk for a long. This could be a separate podcast. People that own companies. I think they need to be a little bit more flexible in the people that they bring on. I think that there's this sort of trend towards looking for perfection and ticking every box because there are a lot of people wanting to come to the region. There's this search for perfection. Right.
Okay.
So there's this perception that they can get perfection at the salary level, perhaps, that they're looking to pay.
What do you mean by perfection? Is this skill set? Is it like aesthetics? Like, do you just want somebody hot to walk in? Like, what?
No, it's more around the skill set and more around the employment background. Okay. So they might say, okay, well, we want somebody that's worked on a high-rise building that's 30 plus floors, and we need somebody that's got 5 years experience and seen 3 projects through from inception to completion, and they've got a degree, and they're chartered, and they're between 35 and 40 years old. Right? They're extremes, but that's the kind of thing that we're faced with as recruiters from our clients, and we're trying to educate them and say, look, that's going to take you a long time to find that person. Yeah. And they probably don't really exist. And there are always areas for development with everybody. You're never going to find the perfect person. And there's an argument to be said that if you do find the perfect person that ticks every box, they're going to get bored so quickly anyway because they're not being developed. They're not, they're literally just coming in and doing what they're good at and that's it. So do you really want perfection? So I think that's it. That's an issue for employers. And I also think the length of the interview process as well with some employers is crazy.
What do they look like? I've only done one big interview or a selection process when I was 19, and that was it.
So the larger companies can have so many stakeholders and people that want to be involved in the decision-making process. Okay. And so that means that a lot of interview processes can be long-winded. And of course, then they get surprised when that candidate isn't available anymore. It's like, guys, the guy's actively looking for a role. So, what do you expect?
In your experience, what is the longest period it's taken for somebody from their application until they got hired in terms of how long it can be?
It can be like 6 months or a year in some cases.
What? Yeah. 6 months to a year for a job?
Yeah. And that's because the requirements often change or things go on hold and they come back, or perhaps the client has decided that they don't need that person for a certain amount of time and it's like, okay, we need that person now. So it's not always just a straight up, okay, it's taken 6 months or a year to interview this person. Yeah. Over that period of time. It's normally due to sort of business issues in the background as well.
Oh, okay. Wow, that blew my 6 months to a year. I was like, what? That's crazy. There are a lot of roles that say that you need experience in order to get into that role. So even for me right now, it's like I need a certain number of years of experience to get into a managerial position outside of the company that I work in, is what I feel like I need to do. So how much experience do you really need for certain roles? Like, for example, somebody fresh out of university and they're new to the job market, but then you need at least 1 or 2 years experience in a job. How can they gain experience if they don't have experience, but then they're trying to get into work?
This is a real catch-22 for young candidates, and I really feel for them. And that's why I said earlier, if you offer yourself up for internships and you try and do some sort of vocational training on the job, that can count towards that experience. I mean, I'm a big fan. When I did my degree, I did what we used to call in the UK a sandwich course, where you do 2 years study, then you do like a year in industry, and then you do your final year. And that's great because you've got that year's experience. So I think if you have the option to do a part-time degree where you're working as well as studying, that's a massive help.
You mentioned vocational training. What is that?
Like training, like on the job, essentially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like a part-time degree where you're training on the job, or if you're learning a trade like an electrician or a plumber, for example, that's always like vocational training because you're learning as you're doing.
Okay. And you have your own business now. So what would be your advice to people that want to start their own thing? What if they just want to be an entrepreneur instead?
I would say that don't overthink don't sweat the small stuff, but also don't overthink like the big stuff. You don't need loads of systems to get started. I think people try and as I mentioned earlier, when I started my social media, just start. Just start. It's not that difficult to pick up the phone and get some clients and figure it out as you go along, right? You're never going to have everything in place, because even if you do have all these systems in place, the marketing, the CRMs, whatever it is that you think you need, you still have to deliver the work. So I would say start on a shoestring, don't spend too much money, and just get some clients and start working.
And what about the companies that set up businesses for you? Would you recommend they use that, or they do their own legwork and then do it themselves?
Yeah. So, for example, my business is set up in a free zone. You can also have mainland businesses here as well, and we're talking about the UAE specifically here.
What's a mainland and what's a free zone?
So, traditionally, like when I first came to Dubai, you needed to have a local partner to set up a mainland business.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, the Emirati business partner would take 51% of the business, but you'd have an agreement where all the revenue goes to you, but it's like a local partner that you'd have. And that's the traditional mainland setup. That's changed now, and I'm not 100% sure of the legalities, so I don't really want to go there in case we give some false information. But, and then there's free zone business as well, which can be wholly owned by you as the expat business owner. So you can go down one of two routes. You can either set it up on your own with the free zone or with Dubai Economic Department directly for either of those businesses, or you can use an agency, one of these business setup agencies like VirtuZone or Creative Zone or there's lots of different agents that can really help you set up business. And what agents are great for is they're great for understanding you as a business. What business activities do you want to do? Because you have to list business activities on your trade license.
Okay.
So, for example, mine are recruitment services, HR consultancy, and a couple of others. And then depending on your business activities then dictates where in mainland or free zone you can set up. And so an agent can cut through a lot of time and effort in helping you with that and finding you a good deal in terms of business setup. The advantages of doing it yourself is that renewal fees are often a lot less.
Okay.
And you're not tied to the agent for any renewals, visa processing, etc.
Okay. You're speaking a lot about Dubai. Do you have any information on other Emirates as well? Or would it be similar in the rest?
It's largely similar, yeah. My experience is in Dubai, but it's pretty similar.
What are mistakes that have been made that when you see it on a CV straight away, you're like, no? And then what CVs truly stand out?
Let's talk about your one-page CV that doesn't need to be one page. It can be as many pages as you want.
I posted one. So I do public speaking on the side. And I have very specific niche topics. And I've done a million courses because I just like to know things, and I like to know things from credible places. So I do a lot of like mini courses here and there. So I listed on all the courses, and I had a 5-page CV because I had 2 of them of just topics that I can speak about in technical events, like in Dubai Air Show or anything aviation focused. So I put that up there. And whenever I have to apply to be a public speaker, sometimes they specifically request CVs with what scope you can talk about. So I have loads that I can speak about. And I posted it on LinkedIn, and then I had all these like LinkedIn trolls for the first time in my life going like, it's too long, blah, blah, blah. It needs to be 1 page max, 2 if you, and then one guy was like, you're doing too much. I'm like, I'm doing too much. You just can't fathom doing that much because you're incapable. That was what I was thinking to myself. So it's like, all because you would struggle to do everything that I'm doing doesn't mean you have to put that onto me. So that was like what I was thinking. So then when I was doing a lot of cold emails to the space centers now, I actually followed what you said, where it was just like, I'm going to knock on doors. And all I could do was knock on them virtually because it was 3:00 in the morning in Ramadan. So I sent all the emails to all the space centers that I could, and any companies that do work with space. And I was like, how can I keep their attention? Because everyone's a goldfish these days. So I went into ChatGPT, I put in my 5-page CV, and I was like, make it into one, specified for joining the space centers. And then that's why I was like, I just need it to be one, done.
Okay.
So that was my intention. So yeah, but I've not tried to apply for a job in 12 years.
Okay. So where do we start with this? Right. So the CV doesn't need to be 1 page. 5 pages is probably too long. But there's no rule. There's no rule on the length of the CV.
There's no rule. Okay.
There's no rule. So you'll hear people talking about 1-page CV, 2-page CV, 5-page CVs, right? Whatever.
Okay.
The people that were all up in your DMs saying you need to shorten your CV.
It wasn't even DMs. They were publicly commenting on how dumb I was.
Right. If anyone ever slides into your DMs or starts talking about your CV to you, be very careful, because they're probably trying to sell you a CV writing service.
Yeah, when I looked at his profile, he was a CV writer.
Yeah, it's kind of scammy. It's not. I mean, CV writing is not scammy, and there's value in it. But people overthink the importance of the CV. The CV is an important document.
Yeah.
But as we said before, it's one cog in this machine of get the CV and LinkedIn right, network properly, follow up, speak to people. You'd have like the best CV in the world, but if you're not talking to people, like no one's going to even see the CV, right? So the CV is really important. But as we're talking about CVs and CV mistakes and things that should and shouldn't be in there, needs to be relevant. Okay, so your 5-page CV probably gave us like your life story about what you can and can't do and all of your work experience and what you can talk about. It's bullet pointed, and that's good. Bullet points are good. But if you're going for roles in the space field, like a couple of pages of like relevant experience is good. Okay. It should be concise. It should be to the point. It should show outcomes and achievements rather than just a job description. This is the most common mistake I see on CVs is people telling me what that job was. Well, I know what the job is because I'm interviewing you for the job, but what have you achieved? What have you what were the outcomes of your role? So, did you save 20%? Did you deliver a project on time? Did you work on this particular size of project? And give us metrics, give us figures wherever possible.
So numbers are good.
Numbers are great. Yeah, numbers are amazing. If you can get, not all roles are, can talk about numbers, but if you can, great. No icons, no fancy colours. Keep it one single column if you can. It's got to be, boring is good. Keep lots of space around. The picture is an interesting one because in Europe and the US they would say no picture because of bias, right?
Yeah.
I find that a little bit contradictory when we're talking about personal branding and having a picture on LinkedIn and all of this sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And I think here, picture is certainly acceptable in the UAE. And personally, I quite like to see who I'm talking to. Right? Who's this person? Whose CV am I reading? Right? And that's not because I want to judge somebody on their looks. It's just like, okay. Like if you've got a nice professional photo, throw it on the CV. Some people aren't comfortable with having a photo, and that's also fine. So there's no hard and fast rules around that. Have an executive summary, but keep it really short. Nobody's reading like that whole thing that you put on that you think you've
1 sentence, 2 sentences.
I think like 5 or 6 lines is enough. Like 3 or 4 sentences. And what's really good about that executive summary is you can either have some career highlights in there, or have a separate career highlights section where you list maybe 3 or 4 like big things that you've done in your career that you're really proud of. Again, outcomes. So these types of things are good on a CV.
And what would you recommend not having on your CV?
You don't need to put your hobbies on there. Nobody cares.
Stand-up comedy, podcasting.
And you don't need to put generic key skills on there. This is a real bugbear of mine when I see people saying like, oh, I can do Microsoft Excel and I can use PowerPoint. Like everyone can use PowerPoint. It's 2026, right?
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised.
I think the only reason you should put like key skills in there is if it's like super technical, like if it's like a computer programming language or something that's very specific to the role that you know that they will be looking for.
Okay. And you mentioned your career coaching and interview prep. So what would be advice for somebody, like, why should they sign up with you? Like, let's say somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh, I would really like to reach out. Can you give them like a little preview of what to expect? Like now we know we have a WhatsApp group chat and hold on, wait, I wrote it down. WhatsApp group chat. You've got Dan's Career Clinic. And we can access you on social media. So if you're putting out a lot of educational content, why should we sign up for the accelerator program? And
it's much more in depth. I mean, the educational content that goes out on social is, it's just generic to everybody, essentially. And they're just small snippets of what we go through in the accelerator. So to give you an idea of like a timeline, I think that's probably useful for people is when they come into the accelerator, immediately they'll get access to the coaching videos, which they can watch all in one day if they want, or just whenever they want. And then the first thing that everybody does is they join that Wednesday call where I basically tear their CV apart and their LinkedIn and go, right, change this, change that, do this, do that. And their CV becomes like instantly like a 10 out of 10. So that's like that's like massive value immediately. Okay. And then once you've got your CV, then it's about, okay, how do we network? How do we do all this stuff? And we have outreach templates. We have very specific things which work.
What's an outreach template?
So like if you're wanting to send somebody a message on LinkedIn, like what do you send?
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, that sort of thing, or email. And what I'm focusing on with people at the moment, a big thing I'm doing at the moment is, are you offering value or are you asking for value from somebody?
Ooh, right? Nice.
So very often people say, I really want a job. I'd really like to work for you. I really want a job. Or I'd really like your insight on this. ChatGPT will always say, ask them for their perspective. It's like the worst thing you can ask somebody.
Okay.
Because you're asking for something, like why would they give it to you? Like everyone's busy, right? But flip that on its head and start solving their problems and offering value. So say, I think I'd be a great fit for this role and for your business because of because it shows that you've done some research on the business, you're solving a problem for them, and that's like offering value to them.
Nice. And for somebody preparing for an interview, what can they do?
So I think in 2026, where there's a lot of video interviews, you can certainly over prepare. I had somebody in our career accelerator recently, and she was very prepared. And I said to her on the interview prep call, I said, I think you're a little bit too prepared, and I think you've probably got too much information in front of you because, of course, you're not being interviewed face to face, so you can have have like information on your screen, right? And she came off the call and she was like, you're right, I sounded really wooden because I'd literally just read from my screen. That's like the worst thing you can do.
Yeah. You can tell.
So it's possible to over-prepare, but I think, so you need to be yourself. And a lot of things people miss is like, just be like, people want likable people to work with. You want to enjoy the person you're working with, right?
Yeah.
So just be a likable person, smile, Be a nice person and don't over talk. Just stop rambling. Right.
And what about the difference between in-person interviews and virtual interviews? So like, the guy with the Versace robe, you're like, don't wear that. Any tips on the difference in an in-person interview versus virtual?
Going back to what companies can do better, start meeting people in person.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is before we talk about what people can do differently. One of my bugbears at the moment is companies that are in the UAE who are interviewing a candidate that's in the UAE and doing it virtually. Like you get so much more from an in-person interview. So get people into the office. It's so much easier. What can people do differently? Well, the most common mistake I see with virtual interviews is people not having a good camera setup and good lighting and good angles on cameras.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right. So if you've got a laptop that's quite a few years old, get a separate camera. Costs you, a couple of $100. Angle it so that, we don't just see like a double chin. Right. And
that's my best feature.
and have lighting, have like natural light, or get yourself some lights like we have here today, right? Like face some light at you.
Yeah.
So that you're well lit, you're in good definition. It makes a massive difference. Huge difference.
Okay.
Like if it's between that person and the person with exactly the same skills who's just got like a double chin and it's dark, like who wins? The person with the well lit.
Yeah. And also another one is to raise your laptop or your camera. That was one thing I learned.
100%.
Yeah. That was a small tip. Because I'm short as well. So yeah. Okay. And then everybody panics about AI taking everyone's jobs. Floor is yours. Go.
Well, it depends on your job, and I don't think it's about if AI can do the job. It's about if we want AI to do the job.
Okay.
Right. So you could argue that an AI could do my job. Right. You could say, okay, an AI can interview, an AI could be a career coach, but would you want an AI career coach, or would you want me? You'd want somebody in person, right? You want to talk to a real person.
Yeah.
And you want that nuance, that opinion, that sort of banter. Right, that AI can't give you at the moment.
You need to have the interpersonal skills and like just gain that from a human being. It's like people who are using ChatGPT as a therapist. Yes, you, my little sister who does that. Ew. I just feel like it encourages you to be like unhinged. So it's like what jobs do you feel actually like AI will take over? Like I can't remember which era it was in, but like when the machines took over from like the farming, and then now I feel like it's that but in a different way. So like what careers should people focus on in order not to be replaced by AI?
Yeah, I think AI will take over things like, perhaps certain marketing tasks in terms of branding and things like that. However, I think what that does is it takes away a lot of the admin tasks, and that can free up us for some more creative thinking and doing things that humans are good at. But if you want to really go into something that's AI proof, I mean, things like, tour guides, or things like, things where people want that personal connection. Trades like a plumber, an electrician.
Yeah.
With someone, an AI can't come round and, mend your toilet, right? So all of these things, they're not they're not sexy jobs, but they're jobs that AI can't take.
Okay.
Or, things like if you wanted to go on a jungle retreat in the mountains with like a tribe, things like that. It's just there.
So like tourism as well.
Tourism, etc. Yeah.
Also, like I had somebody on the show. I sent you his episode to watch. He's like a film director. So like, what about film directing? Would people want to do, out of curiosity, would people want to watch something AI generated or not? Like, is that a whole industry creatively that's just going to die out? Like, what about Hollywood and Bollywood? Like,
yeah, I'd hope not. I mean, I'm not too sure about film, but I'm really into music, right? So that's one of my big passions is music, and I'd hope that we don't go down the road of just doing AI produced music and film, and I think that this is an area that we need to be careful of. But I think that again, it's about what people want, not what AI can do, and I think people will want that. They'll want to go to live concerts, and they'll want to do all of these things, creative things themselves as well as hobbies and all of that. And I don't think we can lose that, because art is so important. I mean, you do comedy. I do music. I DJ a little bit as well.
Oh, nice. Do you have nights in Dubai?
Yeah, we've done plenty of stuff
really?
in Dubai. Yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Yeah, so and I think art is so important. I saw a comedian on Instagram recently, and I have to be careful because I might get a little bit emotional about this, because it's a very emotional post. This guy
you can cry.
is a comedian in the UK, and he's also called Dan. Actually, it's called Dappersgram, and he's quite a controversial comedian. And he said that he was at this show, and he sometimes does like a meet and greet before the show. And this woman came up to him, and she was crying her eyes out. And basically her daughter was in ICU dying of cancer. She's like 7 or 8 year old daughter dying of cancer. And they come directly from the hospital and they were like, I just need to laugh. Like, I just need you. And thank you so much for helping me through this difficult time. Like, I mean, what do you say to that? And I think that's true of like music, of film. It's escapism at the end of the day. And I think we can't lose that.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. That's why the comedy nights are sold out now. Like if you go for an open mic or something, they're all sold out. And I'm like, I didn't expect that. So yeah.
People are craving in-person attention. It's like when we came back from COVID, right? It's like we crave that in-person sort of interaction. And I don't think we'll ever you lose that as human beings, no matter how much the computers try and take over.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. I feel like I learned a lot from you. Thank you for sharing everything. Is there anything you feel like we haven't gone over that you would like to share?
I think one thing I would say to candidates is, be consistent, be persistent, and don't worry too much about what other people think when you're posting on LinkedIn, when you're commenting on people's things on LinkedIn, because that's super important to get as we said, like you need to be known for what you're good at. And so the only way you're going to be able to do that is through social media and getting your name out there. Don't overthink things. Just post on social media and speak to people and get out your comfort zone. And that's where the magic happens. Yeah.
One last thing while you were speaking there, what can you do on LinkedIn? Like the minimum that you can do on LinkedIn to just stand out?
I would say that commenting on other people's posts is really underrated, and it's a really easy way to get exposure for yourself if you don't want to stop posting. Posting is like a big thing, right? It's like, oh God, what am I going to post about? What will people think? Blah, blah, blah. And like, you might get like 5 likes and then you just like go, oh no, I don't want to do it again because I haven't got 5 likes. But by commenting on on a popular post, you immediately get exposure. It's a much easier way to do things. Feels a lot easier. And that's a good thing to do.
And be positive. Don't be negative.
That's it. Be positive.
Yeah, I love that. And if people haven't had enough of you here, how can they find you?
Oh, if you really want more, you can follow me at recruitment.guy across Instagram and TikTok. Dan Chadwick on LinkedIn. And of course, you can join school.com/career hub, which is our career accelerator.
And school is SKOOL.
That's it. You got it.
Thank you for everybody tuning in. And I had a great time listening to Dan. And I feel like I learned a lot. So definitely give him a follow. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And here's a sneak peek for next week. Oh, wait.
She's found one. Oh, God. See, all of these bottom ones are a no-go zone. So we have to go here and then it wobbles, you see. So...
I love it. Oh my God.
Areas of your life do you have a hard time telling the truth?
How do you define happiness and what brings you joy in your life?
I think I'm always true to myself. I don't think I'm ever not, to be honest. I think I'm far too honest and
I agree.
Too much,
everything I've given myself because I pay for my own things.
Yeah. One thing I've outgrown is like caring what people think.
Like, who are you? I'm Captain Jojo.
Nobody recognises you. Just taking advice from people, from ChatGPT.
Who's his therapist?
Yeah.